a few years ago, I started. So I started this project. I don't know, like 7 years ago at the university, using very simple video to transform what happens with teaching and learning in the classroom. And then a few years ago, maybe 2.5 or 3 years ago, this whole flip in the classroom thing became popular, and sort of at this, it kind of latched on to that concept because I liked that concept, and it was sort of interesting. We were touting the use of flip cameras, the really inexpensive little flip cameras that they don't make anymore. So it just made a lot of sense to like kind of get on this flip in the classroom bandwagon. And then for 2.5 years. We did a lot of pilots and collected some data and created a training program and everything. And what I came to about a month and a half ago is that so talking about flipping the classroom, I try to, very recently, I'm really trying to kind of erase people's understanding of it and rebuild it in a very simple way, that we should think of flipping the classroom as a shift in efficient teaching practice. Because what I found in the past 2.5 years, you can't get around this. It's like you can't win this discussion about flipping the classroom, because as soon as you start talking about flipping the classroom, people say, yeah, let me stop you right there. I know everything about this, and that's where students watch videos for homework, and then they come in and do their homework in the classroom, or they do their application work in the classroom, and let me tell you 2 reasons why that will not work. Number one, what if students don't have access to computers, so this whole teaching method is not fair? So, right, that's the first thing. Second thing is, well, students won't watch the videos outside of the classroom, which is an interesting statement because, a lot of people who say that have never tried it, so it's odd. But anyway, those are the 2 things. We can't get around this. We can't get past those. Whether they're actual viable concerns that people have, those 2 questions, if they're viable, or if they just, in my experience, a lot of people just look for reasons not to have to do something. Like I don't think I want to put in the work to do this, so I'm going to try to figure out how to sort of tear it down in a way. And those are 2 really great ways of tearing this idea down, because if the teaching method requires that students watch it for homework, well, if 1 student in the school doesn't have access to the internet, then it's not fair. Then I can just say, well, this won't work for me because a couple of students don't have internet. So what I'm trying to do is trying to clear that, to erase that issue, because I think flipping the classroom can be a very powerful way of teaching, and it can be a huge paradigm shift for every teacher, and it can be just a freeing, exciting shift for any teacher. And I want to replace this misconception about flipping the classroom with basically 1 word, that it's about efficiency. And that's it. Like, it's not about students watching videos for homework and doing homework in the classroom. It's about efficiency. And if we kind of pull back our understanding and say, okay, this is about efficiency, well, then what can that really mean, and how can this apply to everyone? And I like to think that flipping the classroom does 2 things very well for any teacher. First, it frees your mind, and the second, it frees your time. And one of the first things we learned about flipping the classroom, or with our work around this concept of getting teachers in a very simple way, using just very simple whiteboards and writing some information on there, sitting down in front of a camera and filming it, is what we found in a high school classroom. A teacher who teaches, in block schedule, and they teach 3 sections of civics, let's say, that they, in section or block 1, they give an hour lecture and have students do some work on that. In block 2, they give the same hour lecture. Block 3, they give the same hour lecture. That 60-minute lecture consistently across the teachers we've worked with across the country, and even in other countries, those 60-minute lectures that they had to repeat over and over end up being 10-minute videos. If you just sit down, you don't have any interruptions, you don't have off-topic questions, you don't have your own sort of, like you go on tangents and you tell unrelated stories, which those are tools of a lot of teachers, but that's not an efficient way of teaching. It's actually an inefficient way of teaching. It's not moving the content forward, and it's not really engaging all the students that well. So if we see this shift already with these 60-minute in live lectures delivered multiple times a day, so basically you've talked about the content for 3 hours in any given day, and that content, all you have to say about it really, if you're delivering just the fundamentals of that content, is 10 minutes. That right there is an enormous shift in efficiency. Just that. I mean, forget students watching it for homework. You know, you could take that 10-minute video, and instead of your warm-up, your first 10 minutes of class, you just play the video. You know, pause it a couple times, have a very short discussion, and then 15 minutes into a 90-minute block schedule class, you're ready to attack group work and collaboration and higher order thinking and application. It does not have to be, I mean, for me, the flip is in efficiency, and that's sort of freeing our time. So not only do I not have to repeat myself for 3 hours about this content, but I don't have to sit there and manage a classroom while I'm trying to give them a bunch of information. I put the video lecture that I created up on the screen, and that frees me to do other things. It frees me, I can take attendance, I can go around and manage behavior on an individual basis, I can maybe pass out some papers, I can certainly get the room ready for the activity that we're doing that day. I don't even have to stand up and give that content lecture. And then, I mean, in terms of freeing the time as well, that lecture is on YouTube as well. You could even watch it at the end of the period, so students could like fill in their notes if they need to. That video is available for students after school, at home, if they want to watch it with their parents, if their parents want to watch it, if they want to watch it before the quiz, before the test, before the end of the course exam. I mean, it's an unbelievably flexible way of teaching that does not really require students to have computers or even internet access outside of the classroom. You use it as this really efficient in-class resource. So the other thing about freeing your mind, I've been researching a lot of cognitive issues and cognitive capacity issues the past couple months, because what I've realized, the feedback we've gotten from these hundreds of teachers that we've trained across the world on how to do this, is that the first response we get from them is, I am not exhausted at the end of the day. That's my first sort of result of flipped teaching. I don't really feel that tired. I can go home and I'm kind of excited. You know, I get to go play with my kids or hang out with my husband or do things that I like to do. I don't go home and like, you know, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do this tomorrow. You know, because I can't believe I have to do this tomorrow is because I can't believe I have to repeat this stuff while students are pushing against me, because everybody's against me. I have to manage behavior. I have to look out across a sea of 35 kids and think, at any one time, I'm 10 minutes into the content. Any one time, like, oh, you know, those 2 students are asleep. They don't care. These 5 students look like they're bored out of their mind, and then I have no idea, you know. And then the rest of the kids are doing what we've trained them to do, which is this. Yeah, and then they're not really learning. I mean, a lecture is the most ineffective way of delivering information to anybody. So it's a question mark whether they're actually learning anything, which I'll find out tomorrow when I give them a formative assessment and realize that no, nobody really learned much, unfortunately, and I don't have time to go back over the content. So, hey kids, guess what? I told it to you, now it's your responsibility. Well, that's not really good education, is it? That's not good teaching. So freeing your mind, it's a very simple sort of formula that I've been pondering here, because if we're spending all of our cognitive capacity, all of our cognitive energy on trying to remember all this content I'm supposed to tell my students, and remember what I told first period compared to what I told third period yesterday about, I told third period this, and I told first period, we only got halfway through because there was an assembly, and so first period, if I'm spending all of my time not only recalling all the content, but trying to remember all that junk, then that is wildly inefficient for my mental capacity, my cognitive capacity. If I remove all that and put it into a 10-minute chunk, then I can use my brain for innovation and creativity. Specifically, let's just have a use case. While that 10-minute video is playing at the beginning of the class period, I can actually sit there and say, look across my students and say, how can I challenge them today? Because the content's covered. Like, I don't have to worry about that. The content's covered. They got it. They got it from me. How can I really, really challenge them? to think. And I may think of a really cool idea while that 10-minute video is playing, while they're getting the content. And how freeing is that? It's awesome. Imagine walking into your classroom on the first day and saying to your students, guys, here's my YouTube channel. I have filmed and published everything I have to say about econ. Everything, all my perspectives, all my information, how it connects to my life, how I want to say it to you. So you think I am the absolute expert. Like, guys, I'm on YouTube. And how awesome is that? And here's my playlist. Now, let's get down to work. And getting down to work doesn't mean me standing up trying to wrestle you through this junk every day and trying to remember all this stuff and forgetting things I tell you and all that. That's not what it means. It means that I'm going to challenge you guys to create your own knowledge every day and work. And what work means is not sitting here pretending to take notes on my cell phone. Work means I'm going to challenge you to actually create your learning, which can be really exciting. So it's really about freeing your time, even if you need to watch that video inside the classroom at the beginning of class and maybe at the end of the class too. And it's about freeing your mind from having to keep track of all that stuff and work through all that cognitive inefficiency. So those are the kind of things I've been thinking about recently along the lines of, I mean, the video you watched talked about sort of my 3 pillars of what it means to be a good teacher, and specifically what it means to improve your teaching, which is that you're efficient, which we just talked about, that you're reflective, because reflective practice is sort of the key to your potential. You want to reach your potential in something. That's why sports teams film all their games. That's why they do it. If they didn't film their games, every player wouldn't be, oh, I am constantly getting back late. I didn't realize that. In the moment of doing something, teaching, playing sports, playing music, dancing, whatever it is, your brain is going crazy, like just trying to keep up with the activity. You know, but watching yourself back is when you truly learn how you did. You know, we could easily, at the end of the class period, at the end of every class period, we could walk out of the classroom, pat ourselves on the back, and be like, I'm awesome. Like, that lecture was awesome. That one kid in the front row who asked a really great question, that's because of me. And, oh, man, I'm so good. I'm going to go down to the teacher's lounge and tell everybody how awesome I am, and I'm such a great lecturer. I don't know. I mean, if you watched a video of yourself back, that same lecture, you'd probably be like, oh, you know, that's, first of all, that's boring because that lasted like 45 minutes. Second of all, there are all sorts of things that I could fix, and you don't know you don't know these things about yourself until you see them back. So reflective practice really is the key to reaching your potential in anything, teaching, sports, anything. And the last piece, of course, is the most important piece, is teaching is about relationships. You can have all the content knowledge about any topic, and if you can't build relationships and maintain those relationships with your students, if they don't believe in you, if they don't think you know what you're talking about, if you can't connect that information to their lives, to your life, with this bond of relationships, teacher to student relationships, it doesn't matter. They won't work for you. They won't want to be a part of this process of learning. So those are my 3 pillars. So efficiency, reflective practice, and relationships. And if we can improve those in every teacher, that's the key to having a better education system, is that we need teachers to move forward and be better at what they do in order to achieve better student success.